welcome back to another episode of Sketch Sync TV, our greatest attempt at a YouTube series shot at our custom paint shop in Ottawa, Ontario. This week we have another awesome project to share with you guys. It's a 2-liter, 4-motion, all-wheel drive Corrado that we're doing a full paint job on the engine bay. Rob came by on a Saturday to drop off the car. The color you see on the car now was in fact sprayed by us over a year ago. In order for the Bondo, primer, and everything else to stick, we first have to sand down the entire engine bay. Because there are so many different grooves and angles to this engine bay, we have to use a variety of different tools to get the job done. The majority of the engine bay panels are all seam sealed. There's a lot of times that you can get rust in between these, so we have to attack it with a wire brush to get as much of the rust out as possible. So if you're thinking about doing your own engine bay by yourself, here's a couple things you need to consider. First thing is remove any and all parts or brackets that are going to be on the engine bay. Brake proof still needs to come off. Any type of hosing or wiring, if you can take it off for sure. It'll make the spraying process much easier. Second thing is if you have panels that are seam sealed together, basically meaning if they're not welded together, you have a more likely chance of having rust in between those two seam seals. So what you want to do is you want to take a wire wheel to get in to the cracks as much as possible to bring out as much as you can. Third thing is once you have those areas down to bare metal, you want to seal them with seam sealer. What we use for seam seal is we actually use Pore 15, which is metal treatment. The metal treatment actually seals the metal so it's no longer porous. So if you do happen to have rust that's still in there that you can't get out, it's going to seal it in. And if you have bare metal, it's also going to seal in that bare metal from either oxidizing or from rusting later. Fourth thing, once you have everything ground down and seam sealed, you want to sand everything smooth. So if you're using your own primers, sand everything down with 320 to 400 grit. That way when you do your primer stage, everything's going to stick. Now we're going to shuffle the cars around to get it into the booth and ready for primer. Even though the primer is down, the fun isn't over yet. We still have to go back and sand every square inch of that engine bay that we just sprayed. Paint and primer won't stick to anything that's smooth, so we have to make sure that everything's scuffed up so that the next layer is going to stay down. Finally, the primer is all sanded down, which means the entire engine bay is clear of imperfections and it's roughed up enough that the next layer of paint will actually stick. Once that coat of paint is cured, we can go back into the booth and spray the clear coat. So the reason why we don't have to sand the paint down before clear coat is because of chemical adhesion. So when you're doing paint work or any type of body work, there's two types of adhesion. So there's mechanical adhesion, which basically means you have to sand down the surface in order for the next layer to grip to it. And there's chemical adhesion, which basically means that the pores in the paint are still open, which means it'll actually adhere to the next layer that you put on top of it. The bay of this Corrado is looking fantastic. Now all it needs is an engine. That's all for this episode, guys. Stay tuned and subscribe for new episodes, local cars and bikes, events, and much, much more.